Wonderful. All right. Good evening, friends. It is so lovely to be here with you all this evening. It's such an honor for both Anna and myself to be presenting this workshop tonight. I hope that you'll find it inspiring and useful, and that you can take some practical steps from here to actually design your career with intention. As I've mentioned, I will be co-presenting with Anna for the workshop this evening. But really what we want to learn before we even jump in is that tonight we're not just going to talk about, leadership and careers. We really want to talk about your leadership career. And the difference there is you can attend so many of these kinds of workshops and talks, and I'm sure you've done a couple of these, many of you have done a couple of these yourself, that really doesn't make it practical and actionable for you. But tonight our focus really is about, can we make this a personal experience for each of one of you on the call tonight, and that you can walk away with something really valuable for designing your career. I think in terms of introductions, we have basically covered that. Just want to quickly touch on this. So for those of you who don't know, Women Leads in Tech is a community that was founded by a couple of women working in the tech space across the continent. What we found was that we regularly met up and had conversations, whether in one-on-ones or in groups over dinners or coffees, or bumping into each other at co-working spaces. And the interesting thing about these conversations was that, one, we often had the same challenges that we experienced in our companies, whether it's leading our teams, contributing to the business, trying to balance work and life and everything in between. So there was that commonality. But then also working in the tech space also feels like there's a lot of opportunity to make an impact and to make a difference and to contribute to the mission of your company. So that was what we had in common. We would often come together and share learnings and experiences. Many of us have our own circle of influence, whether it's through mentors or advisors, et cetera, et cetera. And so we are able to draw on some of the lessons from other people and share it with each other. That is how this community started. The idea was then, can we elevate and make this table a little bit bigger and have more people be part of the conversation? So we started hosting online events with exactly that purpose. Bring in speakers who can share a little bit about their story and about their journey, and can share practical frameworks and insights for our community that we can take away and apply in our daily life. So that is what we do on a monthly basis. Very, very excited to be able to do that with Anna. The thing that differentiates for us, our community, but also for many women working in the tech space, is across three things. Firstly, what we know is that our experiences are universal, whether you are dealing with imposter syndrome or trying to develop your own voice or advocate for your team. Those experiences are quite universal. The second thing is, due to the nature of startups in Africa, oftentimes we will hold multiple different roles over one tenure at a company. And that's both exciting and scary because you're challenged to learn and grow in quite a fast-paced environment. But three, which for me is the DNA of our community, is that the women that we come across, women working in the tech space, women in leadership, oftentimes have a very strong growth mindset. And why that matters for us is that we are open to learn, to make mistakes, to fail, to learn from others, to share our experiences, and that's quite important. So that's what our community is about. You'll find us on LinkedIn. We've got a couple of notes at the end of this presentation for you to go through. But for now, let's jump into our conversation this evening. So what makes me excited about this conversation and why thinking about designing your career with intention matters is because of two big reasons. The first one is, cumulatively, our jobs are where we spend most of our waking hours. It is where we spend more time than we spend with our family, our friends, and our partners. So really, this adds up. The time you spend with your colleagues, the projects, all of the meetings that you sit in, that makes up your life. And because work is such a big part of our life, we all have ambitions and goals and desires for our job. It also leads us to something that is quite interesting and a driving question for me, which is, isn't something that takes up so much space in our lives also something that we want to choose with intention or design with purpose? So understanding those two things, that work is where we spend a lot of our time, which means a lot of our lives, also requires that we think about it with intention and we design it with purpose. And that is what tonight's session is all about. For practical purposes, Jadinma already mentioned, we are going to be breaking out into breakout rooms a bit later, and we want to make that practical, but for your comfort and ease, you do not have to put your video on, or you can keep it off, whatever you're most comfortable with. We will ask that there will be a bit of a reflection when we speak in the breakout rooms, and also when we come later to the main room, that you please turn on your mic, and then you'll obviously be able to contribute. Practically speaking, the only thing that you'll need tonight is a pen and a piece of paper. That is all that we're going to ask of you for the breakout rooms later. On that note, one thing that's really important for the positioning for this evening is this idea, which I really would like you all to hold in your heads, which is oftentimes we find ourselves in jobs, in careers, by luck, happenstance, we were referred, or something seemed interesting, or whatever the case may be. But really, what we want to differentiate between tonight is these two things: living a life where your career happens to you versus designing your career with intention. We're going to give you some tools, some practical exercises a bit later to really, figure out what that means and how you can actually go about designing your career. But this is essentially what we want to shift from. Your career happens to you, things happen to me, I feel like I'm a victim, and I'm more open to risk, all of those things, versus I feel like I have a sense of control. I'm making decisions that's aligned to where I want to be and what I'm optimizing for right now. I'm going to hand over to Anna now to talk us through the next steps.
Thanks, Anthea. I'll be moving slides as well.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Let me just quickly jump through this. This is all for me. To really make this clear and really demonstrate this idea of designing your career, one of the people that we recently spoke to in our community was a lady by the name of Nikita. Nikita Vala, she's currently working at a very interesting company on the continent. But what I found really interesting about her journey was a couple of things. First thing is, Nikita worked at a company for about 6 years, a consulting firm, and she was very unhappy. She didn't like the culture, she didn't like the working hours, she didn't like living in London, in this fast-paced environment. And when I reached out to Nikita, she had switched jobs. She'd moved to a financial inclusion company, and I really wanted to understand a little bit about her journey. What she shared with me was a few things. The first thing was that while she was at the consulting company, she started hanging out with some friends who works in the microfinance industry. And they really showed to her a level of impact within these communities, specifically within South America, where they could really connect their work to direct impact for the people on the ground. Nikita was working in the consulting space, and it sparked a bit of a flame for her, that when it comes to connecting her work to direct impact for human beings, she really wanted to work in a space that operates like that. What she then did was like most of us, she started applying for jobs in the impact space, applying for fintechs, applying for companies that works in the financial inclusion space. And for that entire 6 years, she kept on applying, trying to open doors, and it kept on closing on her. What was interesting about Nikita's journey, though, is that she knew exactly where she wanted to play. She knew how she wanted to use her skills. She knew the area that she wanted to make an impact in, and she had a very clear why. She didn't want to just sit working at a consulting firm, working with different businesses, never seeing the solutions implemented. She wanted to be close on the ground and see if she can make a real impact. So what Nikita then started doing was she wanted to align her career with the impact that she wanted to make. So this is all while she was still working in consulting, which is also an important thing that I want to say right now, which is when you figure out what you want to optimize for in your career, or what you want to focus on, or where you want to make the most impact, it doesn't mean that you have to make drastic decisions immediately. It doesn't mean tomorrow you're going to wake up, quit your job, move into something else. The idea is that you want to start making decisions that can align your work, your life to where you want to operate. What Nikita started doing was three things. The first thing is, while she was working at the consulting company, she actually started being intentional about the projects that she started to work on. So she really wanted to focus on the financial services space, understand the products and services that operate in that space, all with the goal in mind that ultimately she wants to end up at a fintech, working in the impact space. So being intentional with the kinds of projects she avails herself for while at consulting, puts her hand up for, was all in line with that goal. The second thing, which she was really fortunate about, was being in a consultant role meant that she can also travel a little bit. And she was quite intentional about choosing countries in the global south so that she can be exposed to the environments where really her work ultimately can make the biggest contribution. And then finally, she started building a network from her friends that was working in the space. That was obviously one area that she focused on, but she also applied to jobs. And every time she got a rejection, she would go back, ask for feedback, and try to understand how that would fit in, how she can grow to ultimately land in the space that she wanted to move into. All of these things underscore that you can make conscious decisions right now about projects, the people that you work with, the events that you're exposed to and attend that can really align to where you ultimately want to be. We'll figure out a bit later what that is. So we have a bit of a practical element to get us there. But the lesson from Nikita for us and for me personally is around what are the small changes and decisions that you can make that can compound and ultimately put you in a position where you can move into the space or set up your career or set up your life in the way that is ideal or for you. So while Nikita kind of focused on the contribution that she wants to make, there are other ways that you can look at this idea of optimizing your career, right? So one of the ways is through impact. And here what we are talking about is you want to focus on the kind of change that you want to create in the world. Guiding questions here that can be very helpful is, for instance, what are the problems that I feel most passionate about solving, whether for myself, for my community, for my environment, for my country? Do I want to influence individuals, communities, or entire systems? So that speaks to how far do you want your impact to go? And then a question that I really, really love about impact, which is also a useful exercise to think about and to do from time to time, is the question around what is the legacy or the kind of legacy that I want to leave behind. And that's such an important point for leaders, especially working with big teams, big or small, it actually doesn't matter. It is when I leave this team, when I leave this company, what is the impact that I want to have on people? But you can take that even further. Am I working at a company that is actually creating the kind of impact that I want to see in the world? Another lens is around work-life integration or setup, and this is also very personal for me. So a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to be a digital nomad and travel across the continent, working for months at a time in different countries. That meant that I needed to choose a job that was fully remote. That was really important for my setup. I needed to be clear with my friends and my partner and my family that this is how I'm going to be optimizing my life, et cetera, et cetera. But here the thinking is that, whatever right now are the things that you're trying to fill your life with outside of work, how can you optimize for that? So some of the questions you want to think about here is, think about how your career integrates with your broader life goals, your relationships, or your personal aspirations. Do you want to start a family, for example? Or do you want to, go traveling, for example? Or do you want to pick up a side hustle, or whatever the case may be? What life circumstances should your career accommodate? Like I've mentioned, if it's for me, it was travel. So I need to make sure that I'm set up in that way. For some people, it is that, you want to explore things outside of work. You need to be able to set up your life to be able to do that. And then the last question here with work life is around, how do you want to balance time and energy between your work and your non-work activities? It is completely fine to have a job that, you feel engaged, you are contributing, but you're also doing other things that makes you feel alive. And that is actually what work-life integration is all about. So you can optimize for impact, or you can optimize for work-life integration. But finally, you can also optimize for the contribution that you want to make in the world. Here, you want to think about specific ways that you can contribute your talents and expertise. So for me, for example, I love community. I do it as a side hustle with Women Leads in Tech, but I also have components of that in my actual job. So for me, choosing intentionally the kind of company that, exposes me to doing community work, but then also having the time and space outside of work to do it on the side, is part of what I'm optimizing for. Other things that you can think about when you think about contribution is the kinds of projects or initiatives that really gives you energy, whether it's in work or outside, making sure that you're aware of that. And then, are you motivated by different things? Are you motivated by leading people, or executing ideas, or leading at a strategic level? These are all questions that can help you assess whether, you are optimizing for making the biggest contribution. There are many other lenses through which you can view this, right? But the core idea is, we are every single day optimizing for certain things in our lives and in our jobs. It's okay to say, right now I'm just optimizing for economic benefit. I just want a salary because what that salary enables me to do is buy a house, buy a car, pay school fees, etc., etc. The thing that we want to spark tonight is that clarity that this is what I'm optimizing for right now. And then if there is if there's a mismatch between this is actually what I want to create in my life right now, but this is where I am, we want to share a bit of some steps to help you get to that point. Now I'm going to actually hand over to Anna.
Wow, the suspense, Anthea, the suspense. We're going to do a quick check-in. This was obviously a lot of sort of context setting. If your head is a little bit like all over right now from all this input, don't worry, we'll get there. So I'd like you to kind of ponder a question, to kind of just like arrive in the space, and to also like kind of prime us a little bit for the breakout rooms that we're going to just now. So the question I'd like you to ponder: in your current job, what do you think you're optimizing for, intentionally or unintentionally, and why? To make this sort of a safe space, you're amazing. Exactly. You can like share in the comments. You can raise your hand if you want to just like share it verbally. You're more than welcome. This is a complete judgment-free zone. And the idea is just to kind of like see how others are also doing that. So again, the question is, in your current job, what do you think you're optimizing for, intentionally or unintentionally? Already seen the comments. Some ladies are optimizing for salary, and as you said, that's totally fair. Someone needs to pay the rent. For me, for example, I've just switched jobs actually, and I've chosen something that is very much focused on growth and impact. So I've gone like one level up from my previous position with a higher sort of strategic focus, and like a really like important sort of like mission focusing on financial freedom. So I was in the company for 7 years before that, and I really felt like stretching into like an important mission and kind of new challenges. Growth is also a really big reason, 100%. What are like others people's focuses and optimizations? Growth and financial gains.
Networking, that's good.
Mm,
Freedom,
So
love that.
maybe I can lead the pack. Personally, I mean I'm optimizing. Initially, I was optimizing for salary, which always comes first, right? Because
totally.
well, I'm trying to survive. So that's the first thing. Then I am looking at growth. But the first thing that comes to mind from my perspective is I'm trying to survive, so I'm optimizing for salary. Yeah,
Mm, totally.
financial increase, yeah,
Yeah. And I
and
think that's also
independence.
almost like table stakes, right? If you don't have that, the rest like can only matter so much because you need to have that as a like starting point. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think the thing that's also quite interesting about this, understanding, the reality within which we operate, the the best place that we want to find ourselves in is a space where we can use our skills and our experience in a space that is optimized for what we want out of life and also make money. I don't necessarily think that it's a trade-off. And this is also important, right? So if you're, for instance, interviewing with a company where you feel you can add value, they feel you can add value, but they are not going to pay you what you feel you need, that will obviously be the decider. But oftentimes, if you are clear on this is the value that I can bring to this company, this is how I can help you achieve your goals, and this is why I think that I should be paid fairly or in line with market or whatever the case may be, that is a way stronger position than to chase a salary. So I think, yeah, just on that. The other thing, I love what Abisola said about the networking. Super, super undervalued. I think that, when we think about the people that's going to open doors for us, that's going to recommend, refer, that's going to be able to be in our corner, sponsor us for other things, networking is 100% important. We had an event last night where our speaker was like, oftentimes we're not even looking for mentors, sponsors in our own business. And if you know that you are optimizing for that, then you are choosing roles, teams, projects to help you get there. So I think, yeah, that's also very important.
I think it's also really useful to remember that like whatever you're optimizing for now might change throughout the course of your career, right? Depending on, I think someone just said that they were just graduating, the kind of things that you're likely going to be prioritizing right now are going to shift right over the course of your career. And that's totally fine. I think the core point of like, why are we doing this right now, right? It's just like one, to make ourselves aware of like, what is it actually what like my core things here are, that we're like consciously choosing the things that we're optimizing for, because whether you're like conscious of it or not, the thing is there and it will happen. And obviously the more aware we are and the more aligned we are able to make the job that we're choosing, the careers that we're choosing, the more sustainability there is and the more we're also able to make of it, right? So thank you everybody for checking in, for sharing your first perspective. That makes it also obviously easier for everybody else to share. So let's keep that kind of like spirit of sharing. Again, if you're like more comfortable doing that in the comments, you're more than welcome to. What we're going to be doing now is to break into breakout sessions. So the idea there will be to dive deeper into understanding what truly drives you in your career. So this is where we're going away from the general framework, from the examples from others, and really starting to focus on you. So this is the time where if you don't have a piece of paper in front of you or you don't have a document open on your laptop yet, this is the time to do that. What we're going to be doing is we're going to start with a little exercise to identify sort of our core values, reflect on past roles, start to gain clarity on what you need to thrive in your future leadership journey. So needless to say, whatever we're doing today will only be the start, right? Like the very, very reduced amount of time that we have here will not give you the entire journey, but the idea is that we're really like a kickstarting sort of, and we're kind of like planting the seed for the real work that's going to begin after this workshop. And when you're spending a little bit more time with the questions and introspection, we will also be sharing with everybody who joined this session a little workbook that is going to give you like step-by-step guidance and kind of a structured approach to doing more introspection, to really figuring out, here are my cornerstones of the things that I want to align my career with. So we're not leaving you with just these 1.5 hours. The idea is that with this kind of workshop, we give you a starting point. Here, others reflect, obviously, that's always useful to kind of just like get the inspiration flowing. What we're going to be doing is so the breakout rooms will be 30 minutes long, and we will focus on 2 exercises. And I think we even have slides for that now. I know you made something very nice. The one is energizes, and the other one is energy zaps, and also our values. So energizes and energy zaps. We begin by reflecting on your current and previous roles, right? So the guiding questions will be like, what did you do? What did you enjoy? What did you enjoy most? Think about things that really gave you energy, that make you excited, that were like easy to prioritize. Like it's just where like things flow. And then the other side with the zaps, what didn't and what don't you like doing, right, in your career? And think about things that zap your energy, make you feel unmotivated. This can be actual work, so like tactical things, but it could also be a team, it could be environment, it could be industry, it could be companies, it could be anything, right? Anything goes. And this reflection is really there to identify what you want to seek or avoid in future opportunities, and also gives us some insight in what you value. We'll take a moment to write down everything on all sides. Obviously, it's not going to be comprehensive, so no stress about the lack of time that we're going to have. And then we're going to be looking a little bit into what do these things have in common? Do we see any common themes? Is there a golden thread, right? Because the things that we will notice from this, right, are already a little bit of an indicator for what do we actually value. Then we're going to be spending a little bit more time to go around and share, like see kind of what other people have come up with. But because sometimes, you know, we're thinking in one direction, but we completely missed another thing that we can then maybe pick up again also after the workshop. Then we're going to go into a values exercise, which is kind of building on that. Based on the commonalities that we've found in all these different things, we're going to already kind of notice a little bit of kind of values shining through that align with the experiences that we've been thinking about. And we're going to be sharing some values that you can like just get as inspiration. And we're going to start writing down the ones that we like most align with. Cool. That's kind of the starting point. Does anyone have questions so far before we break into the breakout rooms? Anthea and I will be in each of them. We just have 2 breakout rooms, so don't worry if you're feeling stuck or kind of missed something now. But does anyone have questions now that the whole group might be benefiting from? No? Good. Then I think we can go. Hello back.
Hello.
Sorry.
I guess
Joy, I know you were cut off. Anna, I'm sure you also had some cutoffs in your room as well. But I just want to make sure that we regather here. We'd love to hear from some of the things that's been shared, Chidinma, before we hand over. I love the conversation. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so open. Maybe let's just quickly call on a few people for our reflection. I'm just going to pop on my screen again. Just give me 1 second, the presentation.
No, yeah, now we see them. There we go.
So maybe, Anna, I'm not sure if you want to share some reflections from your room or jump immediately into the regathering.
No, 100%. I think like one thing that like definitely came through like from like a few people was so just this reminder, I guess, like for me also, that what's really important about this kind of exercise is to just be really honest with yourself about the kind of person that you are, right? And to be like as clear as possible about like what something means to you, like what growth means to you. That means that's something different for everybody. Someone also now in the values exercise added like fun as one of the values. And that was such a good reminder for me, especially because, you know, when we had the chat to me, she said like, when we were talking about like, okay, what are like the core kind of things that make you go for something or not? We were talking about mission and really gelling with the people. Obviously money is like sort of table stakes, needs to be matched. And he's like, yeah, cool, but if the vibe is off, you need to walk away.
Yeah.
So I think fun is like a really good kind of or vibe, like of however you want to like frame that. But it's like such an important part of making something sustainable, because otherwise it's always going to feel like an uphill battle. Yeah.
I love that. We also had 2 people in our room that spoke about the importance of joy. and bringing joy to the work that you do and getting it from the team that you're in. And I really love that. Some of the other things that we spoke through, Ada mentioned around the importance of, being able to work remote, and that means, valuing free time and valuing time to do other things. We also spoke about, Michelle mentioned around, she cares about something that gives her energy is getting feedback from her supervisor so that she can know how she can improve. And the value there is growth, right? And improvement. And I really love that. And then Philippa mentioned this really cool one around being able to see, access people who have made career transitions. And a value that underlines that is inspiration, and that's also important. So really, really love that. We do want to wrap up with this one question, which is tied to the exercise that we just did, which is, identifying the energies, the stuff that give you energy, the stuff that takes your energy away. And then from there, matching your values to the things that give you energy. Want to maybe give space for 2 or 3 people to share a little bit around, one lesson or one thing that they've discovered about themselves that they'll take forward when choosing a career or a job or a team, etc., etc. I'm going to call on, I think, Deborah from group 1. Deborah, if you're still on the call, do you maybe want to quickly 30 seconds share with us what one of the key takeouts for you from tonight?
Hello, Anthea. Hello, everyone else in the room. Okay, so a key takeout for me would be going into any job, transitioning into any career path. I would really like I would really like for there to be a work-life balance, where I'm able to do other things, aside work, where I'm able to explore other opportunities. So it might be a great job, yes, and I totally appreciate that. But I would like to, have time to be able to, even as basic as connecting with my friends, keeping up, yes, and not just getting left out, pursuing this career, pursuing that, and they just feel like, oh, you've lost some valuable relationships along the way. So, and as you mentioned, I'm a person of value, so if I do say so myself. So if I feel like I'm at a place where they don't respect boundaries for that work-life balance, then I could easily walk away. That is after having conversations with the leaders, and if it's not forthcoming, then I could easily take my values someplace else. Yes, so that's it for me, really.
And also from my side, you heard it from me as well. So 100% agree. You're a person of value. You can add your value at another company. So love that. Anna, anyone from your group?
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more from Blessing. You had some really cool insights earlier. Like, what is like the one thing that like maybe popped up today that kind of you reflected on in new potentially?
Okay, so for me, I think, okay, so prior to this meeting, whenever I'm applying for jobs, because my skills actually reflect that I have sales experience, I usually still go for sales jobs. And but as we were speaking, I was able to say that, see, I have to do something that gives me joy, and not working and being unhappy because I've been given targets, and just being sad at work and all of that. And I also love the suggestions you made about product marketing, because I'm actually skilled at writing sales copy. I remember one time a CEO of a small organization, she wanted to apply for grants, and she asked me to, she just gave me the details, her goals, her values. She asked me to craft a compelling story for her. And interestingly, she's among the first the first 200 people that were actually that moved to the next stage. So I have, yes, even though I have the skill, the potential to make sales copy, I still have to also consider the fact that, okay, there's something in this that zaps my energy, and probably just be behind, not be the one having to speak to people to persuade people to buy, to persuade customers to buy, you understand, but actually be behind, conducting researches on human behavior, what they need, and all of those product questions, all of those questions that help products thrive. So yeah, I was able to reflect that. I was able to say that product marketing is actually a better. Actually, I started a new course on product management. So I
Awesome.
believe I'm doing a great transition to a better career role.
That's very cool. And I have to also say that honestly, people that have actual sales backgrounds, they're so valuable in those roles, because many people that are in those roles and they have maybe a little bit more of a traditional kind of linear career path, they're lacking that perspective, you know. And whether you really terribly enjoyed like talking to all the customers all day long or not is completely irrespective, because you at least understand the perspective. So the chance that you will be able to enable those kind of teams is way higher, right? So that's like a really awesome realization. All right, everybody. We are almost at the time. I just want to remind everybody, today's exercise was about understanding what truly matters to you in your career and how your past experiences can guide you in your future decisions. I hope that whatever you've taken from that you've kind of like started realizing that. And as a reminder, the idea for this workshop is to be a starting point for you to feel clarity and intention for your own career path. The real work is going to start after this workshop, and it is taking time. It is also honestly a process that never stops. It forces you to really kind of like keep checking in with yourself. And as we said, this changes over time. And as you continue on your leadership journey, keep your values and your insights in mind that you've made, and keep checking in and keep making new insights, right? Because they will be your compass in navigating your career path. As I said earlier, we will also be sharing a Notion template with all of you that will help you carry on with a structured approach to charting your unique path. You can like slot some of the things that we talked about today into that. And if you have any questions or want to like kind of continue the conversations also like online, then like, you know, please find us online. We're always keen to like have more of these kind of conversations. Cool.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much, Anne and Anta. Ladies, can we leave reactions for Anne and Anta? They've been talking and they've taken us through, you know, a lot of things. Personally, one of the things I learned, you know, from this webinar is, I mean, during the interview stage, one of the things I would like to ask them during the culture, you know, the culture interview, I will always ask questions to ensure that the culture actually aligns with my value. I think for me, that's also like one of the first places you can quickly address if the culture of the workplace aligns with, you know, your current, with the values that have been listed as. And thanks to Anne and Anatha, they've been able to, I had to quickly take a screenshot so that they've been able to, you know, put these values into a single sentence, right? So that we can always quickly go back to the drawing board and say, okay, does this company's culture align with what my current value is? Well, I do not expect any company to, you know, tell us otherwise. Most times when we see that the culture does not align with our values, we're already like deep in. But just like we've been taught, right? We can always go back and go to where we will be valued. And yeah, ladies, I'm not seeing any reaction. Please, let's thank Anne and Anta for making our time to, you know, take us through this webinar. Okay, so the next webinar is on the 14th of this month. And the reason why we do have like a couple of webinars is that we all know that our summit is happening in September. So if you haven't purchased the ticket, please go to I'm just going to post the link of the She Code Africa Summit tickets. If you haven't purchased yours, please quickly do so after this webinar. I just sent out the link. Now, the next webinar, like I did mention, will be on the 14th. And the topic that we do have is on around auditing. And I am very confident that you all will find it very interesting, and, you know, and if you just like we always do on our events, if we do have any questions even before the webinar, please feel free to message me, and I'll be happy to take on your question. Last words from you, Anta. I know, at least I can tell that you do yoga, Anta, because of the because of this music you grace us with in your room. So I know that you're into yoga. Am I right?
Yeah, yoga and meditation, and these are the kinds of things that I listen to in the background. So 100%, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Thank you. So do you have any last words for us just before we go?
Yeah, just to mirror what Anna has also mentioned, I think it's so important that we find language to be able to express the things that we care about in the world. One of the things that someone said in our room was, my values are. That is such a powerful sentence, to be able to know what your values are, to be able to make values-based decisions is one of the most important things. It's something that we hear consistently from the people in our community. And I really hope that all of you can start knowing more about, what you care about in a job for yourself, how you want to set up your life, and then make decisions along those lines. And it starts with knowing what those are and then having that language. And I really enjoyed today's session. So thank you so much for contributing and for making the time.
Thank you. Thanks, Anne. I guess we have come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you, ladies, for making our time. And thank you once again, Ante and Anne. We cannot thank you enough for, making our time to teach us and, just impact the knowledge that you have. Well, good night from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Bye, friends.
Thank you.